Welcome to Astoria Film Festival Presents, our weekly half-hour program featuring our films, filmmakers, events, and the local community.
Today we're talking with Teresa Garratty, who is an amazing deaf filmmaker from outside of London in Bucks. And we are typing and speaking to her. Would you like to introduce yourself and your film?
My name is Teresa Garratty and my short film is called Almost. So the reason I decided to create Almost was mainly because I think of any deaf LGBT people that have been on the screen. There are quite a lot of deaf-themed films and deaf characters, but there's never really been one that's been for deaf LGBT people. So I thought we needed to have at least one, and then hopefully more after that. So I think I always tend to write from experience anyway, as I feel that makes a film more truthful. So this is sort of based on some personal experience of mine from both a deaf perspective, from an LGBT perspective as well. So I kind of combined both of my life experiences as those minorities and tried to sort of blend them into one film and like show the parallels and the similarities between the two.
Is there anything you're working on currently you'd like to talk about?
Before we went into lockdown over in the UK, we started working on a follow-up deaf LGBT short film. It's very tricky to film in the UK at the moment. We have some social distance rules, but our government isn't very clear or strict on what we're allowed to do and not do. It's all a bit up in the air at the moment, but obviously on set, health and safety has to come first. We were hoping to shoot the next film in August, but we're not entirely sure if we should script to fit the social distance measures or to hold off the measures become more relaxed and we can film more realistic scenes. It's hard to show like human relationships when you have to place two actors 2 meters apart. There are some interesting shot choices. You can't really play around with framing. You have people 2 meters apart, so a lot of over-the-shoulder shots maybe. Recently we had the hashtag "We shall not be removed." I think that's the correct hashtag, and then it basically about reminding everyone and arts organisations that there are people working in the creative arts industry and we're all as capable and talented as our able-bodied counterparts. So there's no real reason why we should be sidelined or swept under the carpet. I was going to say that when we worked on Almost, we didn't just have a mixture of deaf and hearing crew. We also had a girl with autism on our crew as well. And yeah, so like there's really no excuse for people sort of brushing off people with disabilities or neurodiversity. So I think that's probably why I use my films to try and promote change. Lovely to meet you.
It's my pleasure. I thank you for agreeing to do this, and I really appreciate your work.
I hope your festival goes well, and I hope that everyone can come out of lockdown soon and start creating.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Many fingers crossed for that.
Yes, yeah, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything's crossed. if I could cross my eyes, I would do it, but I can't.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm here today with Joseph Rana, whose film Bachi appears in our 2020 Film Festival. Welcome, Joseph.
Hi, Nina. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm doing good. I'm just chilling.
You're chilling. So Joseph is also one of our junior advisory board members, and he also has been doing some of these interviews, so you would have seen him on here. But I met Joseph when he was a high school film student, and now he's a college film student and one of the very best I've ever met. So I'm happy to talk to you.
Thank you for the kind words.
Tell us about your film and what led you to create that specific film.
Okay, so this year I took like an intro to film class, and our professor was like, I'd like you to create a documentary. And I was like, oh, what am I gonna make it on? And I swear I was bouncing back and forth, like, what could I possibly document that I just stepped into college? It was like late September. So I was like, oh, I just got a dog less than a year ago, but I don't live with this dog. It lives with my grandmother. But I was like, let's kind of like dig into that. Let's like delve into that. And like, maybe I'm just scratching the surface. So I decided, let's dig into it. So for a good 2 months, I just would come home. I lived in the city, so I'd come home to Queens like every weekend. I'd bring all the equipment from the equipment room up on the 3rd floor, be carrying it all around the city, bring it all the way back to Queens, just to spend a weekend with my grandmother and just record like a fly on the wall for like 8 weeks at least. And I was like, what could this possibly be about? Like, I'm just recording my dog. But then it kind of just like, I feel like with all documentaries, it grows into something that you don't even want it to grow into. It's kind of got like a life of its own. And it ended up becoming this project that kind of like shone a light on how my grandmother like always wants something to take care of. It keeps her occupied because she had my mother and her 2 brothers, and then she had me and my 2 brothers, and now me and my 2 brothers are grown. We're like 2 of us are in college, one's going to high school next year. So she's just sits around the house, she watches these soap operas all day, and that's kind of what I picked up on. And it's kind of like she needs something to take care of, something to like keep her occupied. So she's like, what, 80, like 78?
She's not going to be happy that you said 80.
And she's got this crazy rambunctious dog. It's got like so much energy. So just to see the contrast of the two was really nice. And it kind of just like shined this light that, and this, I saw it in like this perspective that I never really saw it in before. So I'm kind of glad I decided to just like wing it and make this film, because it became something so much more than I could ever have imagined. And it means so much to me now. It's like one of my favorite things I've ever made.
Is there any like documentary that ever like is shot deliberately? You know what I mean? I always wonder, like, did anyone set out deliberately to say something like this specific thing, or did they just take footage and figure out what the footage said to them? You know, and I think as a person who wants to primarily be an editor, like documentary is the meat of it, right? Because you're getting all this stuff and then you have to make it say something. So like, you've directed other pieces. How did it differ in like directing a narrative versus compiling a documentary?
I think there's no, like you said it perfectly. Directing a narrative, there's like a script and then you follow it and there's a shot list. And of course, things like spontaneous things will happen on set when you're shooting a narrative. But with documentary, it's so like on the go. You just have to just always be rolling, and like there's just no right way to do it, is what I learned. Like, I didn't realize how much of like the story comes to life once you sit down and you start to go through that footage, the raw footage, and you just sit there and you think, okay, well, like I need to break this up into 3 separate acts to tell a story. How do I do that? So basically, when I felt like I was editing this, I felt like I was writing the script, but with the clips in my timeline, just putting it together. And it's so tedious, and you have to listen to every tidbit, because that one tidbit could be like the perfect bridge to the next act. And that's exactly what I learned with this project. So yes, for someone who's like going into editing, documentary is so like, you have to be so editing savvy to get it right, I feel like.
that you have to be like an editing director, editing director / writer. You have to do it all in documentary. What are you working on these days? Oh, actually, before I say that, how did your grandmother react to the movie?
When I told her I wanted to make a documentary about her, she was like, "Oh, okay, like whatever." She didn't think it was gonna be so like hands-on. She would get so mad. I'd be like, "Hi, Grandma, I'm coming over today." She's like, "Again? Like for the 15th time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I need more," because I'm in the editing room and I'm like, "This doesn't make sense." So she would get so mad because I'd be like following her around. She'd be like walking him and I'd be behind on the camera, trotting behind. And she'd be like cooking and I'd be there. And she'd be, like throwing him like a little piece of meatball or something, the dog. And she'd be like, "Can you stop recording?" And it's, like,
What did she say when she saw the final product?
oh my God, so awkward. Let me tell you, we sat down to do the first interview and I had like a couple students in my class, like my friends helped me out. And she sat down and she's so extra, let me tell you. She stopped acting like herself. She acted like she was on Barbara Walters. She put on this voice and she was like, "Your mother wanted this dog and then I decided I'm gonna take care of it." I was like, "Can you stop making that voice? I just need you to be completely real with me." It's so hard to get her to act like a
Wait, does she not have a Queen's accent in real life?
no, that's exactly what she sounds like. Her name is Dolly.
What was that? So what are you working on these days?
What am I working on these days? Well, I'm taking online classes. That's really all I've been doing. Me and a couple of friends from my classes, we're all editing majors now at school.
At SVA?
So where they give like LinkedIn, I think through SVA, they give us like free online classes, and it's like a bunch of stuff. It's called Linda. So every Wednesday we like link up and we review like the lesson plan that we picked. And we've been learning like a bunch about like Adobe Premiere and how to export and all those like settings and stuff. So it's pretty fun. So I've really just been focusing on that. Yeah, and then school starts in about 7 weeks. So
What and you had COVID.
I did have COVID.
How was that?
I can't really speak because I didn't have it that bad. I really didn't have it as bad as everyone else, but my father and I had it, and we all got the antibodies test, the whole family. My younger brother had no symptoms at all, was completely fine, had the antibodies. It was so weird, but yeah, no taste, no smell. That's it, and like body aches, like minor body aches. But I swear, I lost that sense of smell and taste for like a solid 7 weeks. I didn't smell or taste anything for like almost 2 months.
Wow. Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, it comes back. Like, they were like, "Oh, in like 2 weeks." And I'm like, "Okay, it's like 3 weeks and I still can't smell or taste anything." And they're like, "Well, it'll come back gradually." And it took 2 months for it to fully come back. And sometimes I still can't. Like, occasionally, I'll be eating like pasta. And I'm like, "Why can I barely taste this?"
Oh,
So,
wow. I didn't realize that.
yeah.
That's crazy. Well, knock on wood. I hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
I hope there's no lingering repercussions.
Me too, I swear. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that like 5 years, 10 years from now, they're going to find like something that it does to all the people it infected, and it's not going to be good. So I'm kind of scared.
You'll all become tap dancers.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Can you, there's a film I want to see.
There's a film I want to see. I'm on it. I'm writing it.
Where can people find you?
Rana.com. You can see a bunch of stuff there, a bunch of my work.
And on Instagram at?
Spliced by Rana, SPLICEDBYRANA.
Nice editor handle.
Thank you. It took me like a
And
sec.
anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Come to the Astoria Film Festival. Come support your local artists and come watch some good stuff.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you so much for having me.
Love you.
Much
Always.
Love you more.
Today I'm speaking with Natalie Frederick, who created the film Stuck. Welcome, Natalie, and thank you for doing this.
thanks for doing this and hosting this in this weird environment.
I'm not sure
I'm
why.
grateful for it.
Likewise, I'm grateful for you guys. Please tell us about yourself and why you decided to make Stuck.
Yeah, well, I'm an actor and a filmmaker and a writer, and this is actually my first time making a short film. And I also had kind of always wanted to make something in a bathroom just because I thought it was like a fun creative challenge.
The whole film, I just was thinking, where are the lights? Where's the cinematographer?
Yeah.
Where, you know?
Our DP was amazing. And she kind of came in and looked at the space and went, and I was like, we can do it, right? And she was like, yeah.
So where were the lights?
The lights were pretty minimal, but it was mostly just using what was there. And then of course you're shooting half of it. We had the bathroom door off, and the other half, the DP and the sound recordist were in the bathtub.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So they're troopers.
And how has your personal experiences affected your filmmaking?
At the time that I wrote it, I was also, it's fully fiction, but I was in sort of an early stages, seeing someone that was undefined. And I went on sort of a little, thought journey of all the questions that we don't ask, that we're afraid to ask, and what can happen and what we can miss out on, not just in relationships, but also in life when we don't, we're too scared to put ourselves out there. Scared of being rejected, scared of ruining it, or even scared of it being good,
Are you working on new stuff now? Like, what have you been working on, or what do you hope to work on when you can actually get back to working again?
Yeah. Right. I'm definitely trying to be okay with being in a little bit of a state of pause right now, and just working on that for myself. I've been lucky to have some voiceover projects that I've been working on just separately. And I have a couple of ideas for features. At the time that I wrote Stuck, I had these bigger ideas, and I was like, let me start with something that I can do that feels much more achievable as my first step. And I definitely want to, I didn't direct this project, I wrote it and I was in it obviously, but I want to move on to directing some projects as well once we're back in the world again. So just mostly ideas, in the idea phase right now for most things.
Anything you'd like to add about anything before we wrap up, I guess?
Not really. I mean, if anyone wants to find me further, my Instagram is Natch, NATCHB, and my website is NatalieFrederick.com. Natalie has an H, NATHALIE, and I just want, I guess, to tell everybody to stay safe and also be active politically and vote, among other things, and wear masks. And yeah, that's what I got.
Well, it was so nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I hope very much to meet you in person in October or whenever, or
likewise. You may be in one of those, those the balls that they play and they bump the bouncy balls.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I'm thinking of buying those and just sticking everyone in them. So
that sounds great to me.
Thank you. I love your film, and I can't wait for the first one.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited about this festival.
I really hope we get to see you soon.
Yeah, same.
Stay safe. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Welcome to the Astoria Film Festival, a proud member of the Kaufman Arts District. Our festival is usually held in the Zucker Theater, and one of our top awards, given to a film that focuses on social justice, is called the Zucker. The Astoria Film Festival is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We produce an annual film festival featuring short films and web series from around the world, and hold smaller screenings throughout the year at the Zucker Theater and at local bars and restaurants. Our founder and executive director, Nina Fiore, grew up here in Astoria and worked in television and film production with Sesame Street, PBS, Noggin, Viacom, MTV, and others. She also worked in after-school education for many years. Nina started this organization in 2018 as a way to connect local youth with local filmmakers. The majority of proceeds from our screenings and the festival go into creating and providing affordable filmmaking workshops for the local community in schools, after schools, and community centers. This past year, we've organized media and film industry career days for local high schools, created a group of film fellows and junior board members whom we mentor and who work with us on education, festival prep, and film production. We also held several free filmmaking workshops, funded partly by our festival profits and partly by a community grant from the Queen's Council on the Arts. Schools we worked with included IS 126 through Zone 126 After School, Q300 and Bryant High School via Global Kids After School, and Frank Sinatra School of the Arts. Our general workshops and summer programs have included children ages 6 to 12 from around the community. We've moved to an online instruction/outside production format since COVID-19 restrictions and are currently holding virtual film clubs for ages 8 to 12 and 13 to 18, which meet weekly. If you'd like to support our work, you can make a donation at AstoriaFilmFestival.org.
It's been a while.
I wasn't always this elegant.